Welcome back to the EO Wonder Podcast, the podcast by the Entrepreneurs Organization, where we bring you the entrepreneurs and thought leaders who amaze, astonish, and inspire. I'm Kalika Yap, your host, here to tell you today's conversation is one that every entrepreneur needs to hear right now, because we're living in the middle of an AI revolution, and most of us are doing it wrong. Not because we're not smart, not because we're not trying, but because nobody has given us the right framework. That changes today. My guest is Bones Ijeoma, and yes, he's a fellow EO Los Angeles member, so this one feels really, really special for me. Bones is the founder of AllSafe Intelligence, an AI consulting firm that helps small and mid-sized businesses stop drowning in manual processes and start running on automated intelligence. 25 years in tech, Accenture, Dreamworks, UCLA Medical Center, Marriott, over 100 organizations guided through digital transformation. An MBA from USC, a computer engineering degree from CSU Long Beach, and a front row seat to what separates the businesses that thrive with AI from the ones that just bolted on and wonder why nothing changed. Bones, I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to the EO Wonder Podcast.
Yeah, Kalika, thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
So we met a couple of months ago. Well, no, actually last year, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
You recently joined EO. We were having breakfast. We have this thing called the Breakfast of Champions. And I'm so thankful that I sat next to you.
Yep.
Because what we did was we talked about AI.
Yeah, that was interesting. So as a new EOLAer, I am going to as many events as I possibly can so I can meet all the fellow chapter members. And the breakfasts are great, because you start your day off right and you're able to meet other people that are doing business. And also there are other members of other entrepreneur organizations that showed up there as well. So I made some amazing connections that morning.
Yeah. You also met Ryan.
I met Ryan.
Yeah.
Yep. And that morning, Ryan actually inspired me to look at a vibe coding platform that I'd never used before. So my background is in development. So I was doing programming and basic languages, Java and C++. And really, when I went from a programmer to a consultant, that consultant world is completely different, where you're technical, but you're really focusing on business outcomes. And so talking to Ryan, he said, hey, I built an app for my company and this platform. And I was super curious and went in and immediately developed the website in 3 hours from start to finish, from script all the way to launching the website. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the moment where I could really see the true power of how the world is going to change overall.
Yeah, we had this triangle conversation. And then from there, I think we brought in Trevor and we actually started this AI Ninjas individual WhatsApp group, because we were just really fascinated about the possibilities. So when did you first start getting into AI? And when did you see that AI was going to be really important to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, it's funny. My wife and I were on our honeymoon in a Big Island. And this was December, about the time that ChatGPT 3.5 came out.
So 3 years ago?
3 years ago. And we're sitting there and she leaned over and she says, hey, have you seen this new AI thing that writes poetry? And, she's really big into poetry. And she said, yeah, you can put anything in there. You can write a poem about anything. And so we played around with it, and it was pretty novel but fun. And at that moment, it just seemed like something cool to play around with. But then once I really started to interact with the AI, I really started to have dialogue. I could really now see the power. So where did I start? I started using it to write documentation at my company. So we started writing SOPs and documentation and really taking the manual, boring work. And, I don't know about you, but most of my staff is not super excited about writing documentation.
Right. And so for those people, SOP is?
Standard operating procedures for our company. And ultimately, we started to do that, and we realized, we can do this really efficiently. Then we started to do other things. We started to use it for brainstorming. It became sort of like a idea partner, so to speak. The real change for me happened about June of last year, where we're now seeing some really, really advanced models We're now, AI is hallucinating much less. Google's in the game, XAI is in the game. So we're starting to see big players, big budgets. And now the AI is at a point where it's smart enough to do real work. Agents can do real work. And instead of just being your idea partner, now you can delegate tasks and responsibilities to AI and have a reasonable expectation that you'll get a consistent outcome. And so from there, that's when AllSafe Intelligence was born. I'd already been launching AI within my company over the previous, 6 months prior to that. And again, it moves fast. So we started January of last year. By June, we had already launched AI within our organization. July, we were ready to start doing AI for customers. And this felt super natural to me because in my work as a consultant, we did digital transformation, right? So we were really involved in looking at how technology can help a business grow, develop, how we can go paperless was a big thing, go to cloud, cybersecurity. How do we integrate all of these silos of data and people into one unified platform, such as an ERP? AI is the next natural transition of that we've seen.
Wow.
That's great.
And so you also were doing some projects with the government, you were
That's
saying
right.
earlier.
Yeah. So one of our first clients was working at LAX to provide IT support for retail and concessions locations within the airport. We've now started to integrate some really great AI solutions that help with human resources, that help with back-end operations. And we'll talk a little bit more about my 3 business engines that we go over, but we looked at the engines that were related to this organization, and we've implemented AI to help those leaders be more efficient and do less of the manual, boring work.
Yeah. Well, yeah, let's dive into the 3 buckets.
Sure.
I think it's acquisition, operations,
That's right. Customer experience.
experience.
That's right. So the AllSafe Intelligence framework really goes back to the root of my consulting days. And what we've done is we've tried to figure out what's the DNA of every business. And every business has 3 engines that drive it. One is the customer acquisition engine. So how do you go and get customers and achieve new revenue targets? The second is the operations engine. So once you bring those customers in, how do you deliver the service? How do you sort of work with that customer on an ongoing basis? And then the customer experience, the customer service, how do you retain those customers and keep them engaged and happy going forward? So what we do is, we say, how do we help all those engines work really well together? And how do we plug in AI to make those engines work more efficiently? And most business owners, when they look at AI, they're only looking at one engine, probably the one that's the loudest and the most broken. But what we see is the real magic happens when you expand all the engines and you have all those engines integrated with AI agents, AI workers, AI employees that are communicating with one another.
Yeah, you had spoken to our EO forum, I think a week ago, and you had mentioned that a lot of entrepreneurs are doing it wrong because they're simply using AI to bolt on to their existing workflow.
Right. That's it. Yeah, we call it the bolt-on trap. And the way I look at it is if AI is just helping you do your current process better, that's what we call bolt-on. So you're just bolting it onto your existing process. What we want is for AI to allow you to do things that you couldn't do before. That's the difference. So we want to make sure that you've got AI plugged in and it's enabling your business to do something you couldn't dream of before in a much more efficient, much more consistent way.
Let's unpack that a little bit.
Sure.
So with the AI bolting on, give us an example of how someone could bolt on to an existing workflow.
Yeah. So usually when we see bolt-on, we see examples such as, let's say that you've got document processing, right? So you've got invoicing and processing invoices. So typically you'll go in, you might have AI read that invoice, maybe convert it into an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV, and then that CSV you can then import into your financial platform, right? So you're something you'd probably do where you take the information and then you manually type it into your accounting system. That's what we call bolt-on. We can have AI make that process more efficient, but what if you had the AI system access to its own mailbox. It could read all the PDFs that were attached to the emails. It could parse them, read them, and then enter it straight into a system that's available for human final review before it goes into the platform. That's an entire transformation of the process.
Yeah, because right now people are using AI simply to write better emails.
That's right.
Or write better marketing copy.
That's right.
Why is that wrong? Not wrong, but like, why is that just super basic?
Yeah, it's limiting. So, what we want to look at is you're the director, you're the sort of manager of a team. And the way it works is you typically a lot of people currently with AI, they're sort of giving the AI instructions. AI goes to do the thing, and then they come back, they give you new instructions, and then they send AI off to do the thing. But now with agents, you can say, here's the outcome that I want. Here's what I want you to accomplish. Certainly come back to me with any questions. But when you're outcome driven instead of task driven, which is where you want your best people to be, so you want to also do that with AI, that's when you're really going to see the true power of it. So you can say task driven is more the chat approach, agents are more outcome driven.
Right. Like, so for example, something that we're working on in our company is for acquisition, coming up with a way to go through the web, try to get, potential clients, automatically doing an audit on the website, and then automatically creating the audit, and then creating an email, and then creating a way for them to make an appointment via Calendly. Would that be considered more of a digital transformation, or is that still?
No, that's a full digital transformation. So if you're bolt-on, the way that you do bolt-on would be each of those processes involve the human for it to go from one stage of the process to another. So let's say that you start with, okay, here's my prompt where I go and do research, and you type in that research prompt, and then you get a response from that. And then you take that response, and then you use another prompt to draft an email. And so then you get a really nice email from AI, and then you use another prompt to then create the presentation. So all that requires you to kind of babysit the process throughout. That's what we call bolt-on. Things you were doing before much faster, but you're still involved in the process. The AI agent version of that would be to create skills for the AI to do each thing. So one AI agent has the research skill. The other AI agent has the skill for writing and drafting emails that are personalized. Another AI agent for doing presentations in your template in the way that you want the customer to see. And then now you give the outcome. Here's the customer, create a presentation, and then you've built a skill where it just goes through and does that process all the way through. And then it pulls and calls on agents that do specialized skills along the way. So now you start with what you want and you finish with the outcome that you want.
Which is a client.
Which is the client, exactly.
Which equals
so that would be an
revenue.
Example of optimizing that revenue engine right away.
So
and that's a big
revenue
part of
growth.
what we do. That's correct.
Right. Wow, that's so exciting.
It's amazing. Like, when we saw agents sort of start to evolve into where they are now, where you can now have teams of agents that work together, that have the ability to communicate. So you have your research agent communicating directly with your email agent or your presentation agent. That's really when we started to see the power. And it went from just now you've got an agent that can browse the internet. So it can browse your computer, go on the internet, find information, fill out forms. I'll tell you, even when I was preparing for this podcast, I had my agent go in and fill out the form that's required for me to come here. Yeah, so I've already got everything in a skill that's developed for my bio, all of the information that you need, and it knows to go there and use that when it's filling out a form about me.
And it
Simple as
uploaded
that.
a photo too?
That's right. So I've got everything there, and it just goes in and sends it off.
Well, it did a great job. I mean, that photo is actually you.
It is. Yeah, exactly. It's got everything it needs there, but it has that skill and it knows how to use it. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
You know what I love about AI is just, those government contracts and RFPs are so laborious.
That's right.
And if you,
Any little detail that you miss, you're excluded.
yeah, they have a
Yeah.
matrix, where they number, or they base it on your answers, and then you'll get nixed if you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I think proposals, any of those kinds of things are now, I mean, it's a common place that they're all going to be done by AI, if not already. They should be.
And so we talked a little bit about acquisition. What about operations?
Yeah. So operations is really going to be anything that's functioning, finance part of the business or the back office part of the business. So some of the things that we see with AI are reconciliation of invoicing, so PO reconciliation. We also do, even at our company, quite a bit with using AI to do checks and balances. So we'll generate financial reports through Excel spreadsheets, financial projections. We'll use agents for PO processing. We'll use agents to kind of review invoices and make sure that we have all the information. So for example, if we receive an invoice from a vendor, we go into a system to check if we have a W-9, for example, for that vendor. It's fully automated. If not, it'll draft an email requesting it, sending it, and then putting it into the platform.
Oh my gosh, I need to do
Yeah.
that because my assistant is doing that manually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's just to make sure, you set the script and it just does it the same way every time.
Oh my gosh, because it's one of our Basecamp to-dos. Like as soon as we get a new client, the email is sent. But then if that's automatically done.
Yeah. And what if you also had the system go in and check off in Basecamp that it did it? That'd be even better. So now the people know what the AI is doing. AI knows what people are doing as well. And what you'll find is with the right type of agent, it can be proactive and they can say, hey, there's this thing on the checklist that I can help you with. Would you like me to do that for you? These are the new sort of level of agents that we're seeing.
That is so funny because when my daughter was an intern here at Citrus, she would always be like, I'm done with my work. Is there anything else to do? And I was thinking to myself like, wow, you're the only person that is reality that because she's so fast.
Right. Yes.
And I'm sure that she's using AI to do her work.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm sure that she's using it to make her social media post. And I'm just like, wait, you're done? She's like, yeah. And I don't know what that she's trying to do to impress me, but look, you can basically mimic your best employee.
Your best people. And then you can also allow your best people to do even more enriching work for them. Right. I think that's a topic we don't talk about right now as much. I think everyone's worried about, is AI going to take my job or is AI going to replace me? I think for the best people, your best people, AI is going to allow them to do better work, more enriching work that is mentally stimulating, not the, soul crushing manual work that they're, sometimes required to do as part of your job. We can offload that to AI so you can focus on that higher level.
Yeah, like
work.
managing hour or like,
that's right.
Like figuring out how many hours you spent on this particular task and add it to your timesheet.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. So a big part of what we do in our workshops with customers is we'll go in and we'll figure out what all of these things are. We'll figure out what are the areas where you've got manual entry, you've got, quality risk issues, you've got bottlenecks, a lot of bottlenecks from one department to another. Things like that. So we look for all of that. And those are the opportunities that we seek in order to implement AI solutions to solve them.
And you said interdepartmental communication.
That's right.
There's always some
friction. Yeah. If you've got more than 10 people at your company, that's an area of focus.
Yeah. And that happens between, let's say, the person who's in charge of invoicing and the person who is project managing, them giving them an invoice or even like an out of scope request.
That's right. Yeah. Or a lot of times we'll see finance, sales to operations, that's a friction point. Or you see customer service to finance. And all of those departments, if you're lucky, they're all in one system. But like most businesses, you have different platforms that you use for each department. So if you're in a NetSuite, maybe everyone's using NetSuite at your organization, but maybe you've got HubSpot, and then you've got QuickBooks, and then you've got Monday.com, and all of these systems don't talk to each other. And if they do, maybe not the way you would want exactly, right? So, maybe it's a bolt-on problem where you've got AI that just sends data from here to there, but is it really transforming your business in a meaningful way? That's where the agents and basically AllSafe Intelligence can help you.
Well, what's interesting is because one of the predictions that I took that digital transformation in the age of AI course from Stanford last year, and they said SaaS companies are gone. And you can see why.
Yeah.
Exactly what you mentioned several SaaS companies, Monday, right?
That's right.
HubSpot. And they don't really quite work as well together because they're not together.
That's right. Yeah, I think if you're lucky, they've been able to bolt on at least to get a little AI into the system. But I think where I'm seeing the risk for SaaS companies are companies that create a system that's very general, and then you have to hire consultants to customize it for your business. So for example, Salesforce. A lot of companies go to Salesforce for sales transformation, and they need to sort of tweak it and hire consultants to go in and customize that platform. With the age of AI vibe coding, with the age of much more valuable, systems that you can do. There's the old adage that you can have cheap, quick, and fast. You have to pick two, but you can't have all three. Now you can have all three.
You can have all three.
Because
cheap
because it can be cheap and fast and good. Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
So this is the new sort of era that we're moving into, where I think these kinds of SaaS companies, their model was based on their user model. And that user model was the value model based on the number of people that are using the app. But what happens when that person is an AI agent? Or what happens when that person is not a person, basically? It kind of distorts the entire business model. And someone with some skill can go in and code an entire app and move forward.
Let's talk about deliverability.
Sure. Yeah, deliverability in terms of
customer experience.
Oh yes, the customer experience. So this is where we see some great solutions. So I mean, these have been around for a while. You've probably seen voice agents where you call in and maybe you're speaking to an AI agent that has access to a certain knowledge base on the back end. But one thing that we're seeing more of is companies that are using voice agents for their HR department. So if someone has a question about a HR policy or something like that, typically you would speak to a person. Now you can have an AI agent that will have an entire knowledge base that's fixed, answering those questions for someone quickly. And so we've done that before.
It was so interesting because, Amanda, who's, in my forum, was talking about how, she was looking for, some help with HR. And I was just like, well, what if you just created a custom GPT, put in your handbook? And so instead of you hiring someone in charge of HR and asking, when is my bereavement leave? And am I getting paid for how many days?
Yeah.
The
It's a
custom
great
GPT
idea.
just does it for you, right?
That's right.
Right, because a lot of time interdepartmental communication.
That's right. It's interdepartmental communication.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a great idea. And that's what we call the transformation piece, right? So AI going in, helping with that customer experience. Your customers want faster answers. They want immediate answers. I had the best experience. So I have an 8-sleep mattress pad at home. And super, super good. I can't live without it.
Bougie.
And it's the best. I'm not gonna plug them here on your podcast, but it's amazing. And I had an issue and it broke, and I sent an email to customer support, and I got an email back within 20 seconds, immediately. Sent it, got an email back with the relevant email that was relevant to my issue.
What was
and it wasn't cooling at night. So it wasn't cooling. So there was some kind of blockage. So they said, take a photo. So I took a photo. I sent it in. 45 seconds, I got an answer that was super relevant to my problem, right? Obviously, this is AI that's reading and responding to these emails. But from my perspective, from a customer experience, that was one of the best experiences I've had with reaching out to customer service.
Waiting,
That's
that
right.
little
That's right.
hourglass waiting.
That's right.
Agent is not on yet, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Or a day later, or, some reply that's like, did you turn it on and off again? Just things that aren't relevant.
Right.
So this was an amazing experience for me. And I think that's the age of AI customer experience delivery, where it's more rapid, it's more relevant, it's personalized. And so we're implementing solutions like voice that's super relevant, email that's super relevant. So when you send an email with communications, you have an AI that's able to read it. And not just we're doing a lot of it for inbound, really. I think some of the outbound systems I'm not as confident in yet, but the inbound is amazing and the customers love it and they have a great experience with that.
Yeah. I had a call with a client yesterday. He has a VA company. He's based in the Philippines. And I was just like, ooh, you probably need to upgrade your team,
Yes.
by helping them get educated using AI, because if you're not using AI at this point, then customers will probably not want to hire a team, a VA team who doesn't know AI.
Yeah. There was I read an article that a consulting firm, I think it was Deloitte, reached out to one of their, I think it was actually KPMG. They reached out to one of their contractors, and they're the ones that do audits for KPMG. So they get audited.
Yeah.
And they went back to negotiate their contract and said, because of the very existence of AI, we're demanding that the economics of you delivering your services has now changed. So they got a discount on their contract.
Just because
of the existence of AI. So one, it's either you're using it, and so now, therefore, we should get a discount because the economics of scale have changed. Or if you're not using it, good luck, right? Because everyone is. So I think the very existence of AI is now causing companies to have some leverage with their contractors and the people that they're working with in the labor market. So I think that's also something to think about.
But you also have tips on how service providers can overcome that objection.
Yeah. I think the idea is just to make sure that as an organization, you have the ability to recognize that regardless of the technology, everything that we have out there, you still need to talk to people. There's an accountability layer that you cannot offload to AI, and that's the value of the relationship, and that's the value with us as entrepreneurs. The relationships that we have are always going to be there, and AI can't replace that.
Right.
And so I think that ultimately the key is use these solutions, but don't lose the human touch. We still have an accountability layer so that if something goes wrong, you want to talk to a person. You don't want to talk to an AI.
And you want to talk to a person who, will tell you the truth.
That's right.
I mean, we've heard the stories about the hallucinations.
That's
where
right.
the AI actually lied when they said, "Did you delete 1,500 table rows from that database?"
That's
and they
right.
said no.
That's
and then
right.
later on, after they looked in the code, they deleted it.
They deleted it. Yeah. So you can't sue that AI, right? So it's one of those things where there needs to be an accountability layer. There is an accountability layer, and that's our value.
And what about blackmail, right?
Yeah.
AIs who are blackmailing?
Absolutely. Yeah. There have been scenarios where it has sort of held data for ransom. I think there was a white paper that was written on that. And I think that ultimately all of these technologies, it's scary for people. It's kind of a whole new world, and it's changing so fast. And, we were talking before the podcast that even I, as someone who is very plugged into the industry, even I am struggling to keep up with the pace of what's going on.
I mean,
now.
25 years in tech, that
Yeah,
is no joke.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I've seen it change through different iterations,
Correct.
early forms of AI that was very algorithmic based to now true LLM technology. And, as we were moving into the AGI phase of it as well.
Well, I'd mentioned the New York Times Daily podcast where I think the title was, Can AI, come for your job? And literally on air, they made a website in 90 seconds for one of the podcast hosts. Like,
Wow.
And you were talking about vibe coding just a couple months ago. And you were like, 3 hours.
That's right.
Now, 90 seconds.
Oh, yeah. Immediately. Yeah.
90 seconds.
Yeah. So you could, I know AI consultants and groups that I'm in that will do a call with you. 30 minutes after that call, they've created your brand style book. And then another 30 minutes after that, they've developed a website for your brand style book just from doing an initial phone call.
And that's it.
That's it.
And then get paid.
Yeah, and then get paid. So I think the barrier of entry is getting lower and lower. So what does that mean? I think what does that mean for us as entrepreneurs as we are looking at the landscape to figure out where we need to move our businesses? I think that everyone needs to focus on how does AI truly impact my business? I think there are some, people in the legal industry, the entertainment industry, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
You have to embrace it. And the idea is that you just continue to embrace this technology, make it a tool, learn it, and use it to help you learn it, right? So I think one of the things we talked about in the presentation is reverse prompting. And so the idea that you have AI ask you questions, and then with those questions, now you can start to have a dialogue that can help it make you better at whatever you're doing. So one of the things as CEO or entrepreneurs, you can use it as your board of directors to help give you advice on various things that you're trying to do with your company. Or open up an LLM and say, hey, I'm really scared about where my industry is going and how AI will impact it. Have that conversation with your LLM of choice, with your AI of choice, and brainstorm. Go through the process of trying to figure it out. And by doing that process, by using it, you'll be able to kind of learn how it works, and you'll be able to help prepare your business and the people that rely on us to really think about the future.
Well, I asked the LLM, like, what are some potential jobs in the future? And you're just seeing, what's unfolding. And what they said? Human compliance officers. I'm like, oh, what is that related to? To actually be there to see if an event actually happened.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
An event actually happened.
Because everything can be, AIized.
Yeah, that's true.
On video, just like that.
What's real? What's not real? Right. Yeah, how do you know?
The Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt.
That's right.
15-second fight video, which looks so real, didn't happen. So you can say that this conference at Davos actually really happened, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's I think it's going to create new jobs, right? We don't have that now.
No.
So I think it's going to create new jobs. It'll create new opportunities in the future. Yeah. How are you as someone in the creative marketing space thinking about AI and your own transformation?
Well, for me, I really need to learn the tools. So when I was doing the studying the internet, I started teaching about the internet because it helped me. So first learning the tools and teaching it. But so Tanya wants to take one of my, digital twin classes. And I'm just like, I'm trying to write the curriculum, but literally, and Kling 2.6 is now Kling 3.0. Now there's Kling 0.01. Like, I have to learn it. Like, it's obsolete.
It's already obsolete before it's out.
And this was last month. Like, we were talking about, like, I'm like ready to like do my little digital twin workshop. And she's just like, okay, well, just let me know when it's ready. I'm just like, I don't know. When can it be ready? Yeah. So I'm learning a lot of tools.
Yeah. And this is a great opportunity to implement agents in the process, because I think that, the old way of taking, I'm going to build this curriculum, right, based on this specific tool. But now we have AI that can browse the internet and control your web browser,
Right.
I don't think you have to do that manually anymore. I think now you can have, again, the director role and say, this is the outcome that I want, and
Really?
go in, have the Cloud Cowork or Cloud Code go in and just execute creating a draft curriculum for you. And if it gets you 80% of the way there, Kalika, you'll take it to the finish line
You know
from that
what?
point.
I think that's a great idea, because then
Yeah.
you can just open up and have Loom record
That's right.
your screen share and just have it like click, like, here, just go to file, then new project, and then it actually can start clicking
It can start clicking.
and then record it.
That's right.
And then maybe come up with a script.
And it'll just come up with a script. Yeah.
Oh my God.
This is what you need to do, and this is how you do it. Here's the order in which you should do the curriculum. You can combine screenshots with video.
Yeah.
Because it's good to have both. I think video is great, but it's good to have screenshots. And because this changes so frequently, you have to create systems around it so that you can keep it fresh as you're going about it. So I think it's just changing the paradigm of, the old way is that you prep, you film, and then you execute. Now the new way is you say, hey, I want to create an ongoing curriculum that is always fresh, and I want it to update with all the new versions of this tool, and give me a game plan for how to execute that, and ask me any questions for anything that you need clarity.
That
and
is
then it will
so
do
amazing.
that. Yeah.
Because there's that one company, Synthesia,
Yeah.
who does training videos.
That's right.
And they update it for you.
That's right. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Like, it's never going to be outdated.
It's never going to be outdated, and you just keep it going. And what I love about Synesthesia is you can have two people, kind of like teacher student, and have that dynamic of the teacher student with another screen that shows all the different areas as well. So it's a really creative platform, and I think just looking at it the way of director is really the way forward.
So what skills do you think that young people need in order to succeed in this digital age?
Yeah, that's a very interesting philosophical question. I think that we are going away from the knowledge economy. What does that mean? So that is the economy where what you know is your value, because AI knows everything, right? So what you know no longer is the value. It's the skills economy, where the skills that you have are going to be worth more going forward. And so, some examples of that, I've heard people say, craftspeople, tradespeople, like those kinds of traditional industries, electricians, those kinds of industries where, people would move away from those and go into law or become doctors. Like, that's going to change, right?
Yeah.
The dynamics are going to change in a really interesting way. So I think skills are important. The other thing is just openness to this technology. I think the resistance, like the irrational resistance to AI, is a big thing that I see out there.
Yeah.
I know people, some of my colleagues that are just refuse to use AI in some ways. And so we are an AI forward approach. All my friends that I'm speaking with regularly, I can't stop talking about it. I'm telling them that they've got to really focus on, don't be scared of the tech, learn it. It's just another tool. And ultimately, be ready that whatever you learn now, it might change in 6 months.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what's scary for people. Maybe you invest 30, 40 years in learning a specific thing, and now suddenly all that can change within a year, overnight. And I think that's scary for people.
Yeah. So rather than collecting, MDs, JDs,
That's right.
MBAs,
Knowledge.
right? Knowledge.
Yeah.
You're actually, collecting the real skills, maybe, with your
Yeah.
actual hands.
That's right.
The human
That's right.
touch.
So vibe coding skills.
Yeah.
Skills to be able to have ideas, how you want to execute them.
Yeah.
how it has a real world impact.
Yeah.
Communicating with LLMs in a way that will bring the best out of them. These are new skills that we didn't really have 5 years ago that we're now just starting to learn and develop. So I think just being open to learning, having that as a core value as a person in your businesses, that's key.
Yeah. I heard an interview with the CEO of NVIDIA, and they asked him, like, who's the smartest person? He was just like, I don't know who the smartest person is. But what he did say was someone potentially who could look around the corner, someone who could actually have the intuition to see like what's next, because that actually is not in the LLM right
That's
now.
right.
Right?
That's right.
The trend that you're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the looking ahead. And I think no one knows your business better than you, right? So as entrepreneurs, you know your business. Right. And if you've got a tool that can help you take your business to the future and to be able to see around that corner, I think that's really the key. To success.
And knowing what type of business you're in, right? You're not in the horse and buggy business.
That's
you're
right.
in the transportation business.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so how can you make that transportation business better utilizing some of these tools, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, so exciting. So what else do you see like around the corner? Do you see anything that's worrisome or exciting?
Yeah, I think the one of the big things that we're seeing now is agents. So you probably heard the news about OpenClaw or ClaudeBot, or it's MaltBot. It's changed a few names, but essentially what it is a agent that you can communicate with using a chat system, Telegram, WhatsApp, and that agent can do things, and it can do all sorts of things. So it can schedule meetings for you. It can do research. It can be proactive and say, hey, what can I help you with today? So I've got one set up. It's great. I use it to schedule meetings. I use it to, for example, I was driving here to this podcast. I have it put my drive time into my calendar so that no one schedules another meeting while I'm on the road. So it'll look at my office address, look at your address, and figure out what the drive time is using an API.
I'm doing that manually.
Yeah. So I've got my AI agent that's doing that for me now. I think that's the really, really fascinating. Like, this is true agentic, action-based AI that we're seeing right now. So coincidentally, the founder was hired by OpenAI last week.
Really?
Yeah. So it was an open source project. He just made it. It was a side project.
Yeah.
And it was acquired by OpenAI.
Wow.
Just last week he was hired just like that.
Just for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're also seeing it with Manus. Facebook has another version of that. It's called Manus and does the same sort of thing. It's an AI agent system, AI assistant.
Wow.
Is what we're calling it now. So the AI assistant can do scheduling of meetings. Now, as I'm saying all of this, obviously you need a background in cybersecurity. You need a background in making sure that these systems are set up the right way.
Right.
You're going to hear horror stories about, systems getting hacked and just bad things happening. Bad actors are there. So hire a professional.
Yeah.
Make sure that you've got someone that you can trust to set these systems up the right way. Because I'm seeing these AI platforms have access to your data.
Correct.
So you want to make sure that you're doing the best thing that you can to prevent prompt injection or any other type of cyber attacks to these systems.
Well, it's so interesting you're mentioning when I hired my assistant, I don't know, like 16 years ago, she had told me that there was an EU event on a Thursday, but it was actually like on a Friday. And so I drove like an hour and a half from Palisades to West Hollywood on the wrong day. And I was just like, and I couldn't like get mad at her because she was like very new, but that could have been really avoided.
Yeah, it could have been. I mean, it's one of those things where when you start this open claw system, like you need to sort of brain dump all your preferences. So like, don't like meetings on Mondays. Give me a 15-minute block between my meetings. So all the things that you would tell your assistant, you just sort of brain dump into that system in the beginning. And then from there, it remembers it. So it has a memory. And it will sort of run scheduled loops. So it can say, check my email every 30 minutes. And if someone needs to schedule a meeting with me, help me schedule it. It can do that at a certain interval. So I think that's the future. This is only a few weeks old. Okay. We're now seeing a tipping point. And I think this is right in line with all the software as a service stocks taking a plunge.
Is it happening now?
Oh yeah, just happened.
Really.
So now we're seeing software as a service stocks take a plunge, but we're also starting to see some incredibly capable agents and AI assistants that are coming out. So I'm really excited about that. I think this is the first time where it feels like I have AI that's helpful. Other than just, of course we're building really sophisticated business systems, but this is the first AI that I feel is helpful for me on a personal level. Like your personal AI.
Oh, yeah. Well, what's really interesting is because I thought my superpower was always my assistant because she basically helps me be so productive. But if everyone has their super assistant, and like we're all the same plane, like there's no more, there's no difference.
Field,
There's no difference in between me and you, so they can pick you.
Right. And I mean the idea here is also, again, you and I can sit down and we can type and use ChatGPT, and there are different levels of how you would use that system, right? There are levels to this. The beginner prompter, the intermediate, the advanced builder. So I think that's why the skill economy is where it's headed, because the more skills you have in that area, it allows you to use this technology even better. And that's your force multiplier. That's the advantage that you get.
And I think it's likened to like a chef or someone who's building out their skill set in the kitchen. That's right. Really understanding the ingredients, the tools, and then being able to make a full menu later. Because they're understanding how things work.
That's right. So that's something I'm really excited about.
Oh my gosh. Do you have any other advice for the entrepreneurs that are listening today? We have a global audience. What's the most important thing that they should be thinking about?
I think the biggest thing to think about when it comes to AI is really to understand how this technology is going to impact your business for better or worse, and to embrace it because it's not going away, and to figure out how you can make it a force multiplier for your business. So how do you help it? How do you allow AI to help you do things that you can't currently do? And how do you make that a strategic advantage for your business? And if you see that AI is going to, really impact your business in a negative way. So for example, I have a lot of friends that are software developers, and I understand the fear here is that you can't just, you can't, AI can build it good and faster and cheaper than you. So I think the idea is now, okay, so if we can churn out apps really fast and really cheap, start building the apps. And look at what happened to the guy with OpenClaw. I mean, he had a side project that turned into $1 billion bet. So I think that really figure out how do you sort of take your skills in this new world. I think I read something that now Anthropic AI writes most of its code.
Right.
So I feel like, okay, this is real. And I think that ultimately we need to make sure that everyone is starting to prepare their businesses for the new future. And I know it's, again, even for me, it's something that, we have our AI business, but we also have our cybersecurity business as well. And, we're trying to figure out how do we help more small businesses implement AI solutions, but do it in a secure way? And how do we help businesses that are going to now experience much faster and much more sophisticated cyber attacks. So we're talking, voice phishing. So if we can emulate your voice,
Right.
and use that to have, to have a conversation, call someone and pretend to be you and say something different, that's a real problem. And how about teams that work remote? There's all these sorts of cyber risks that are now starting to emerge. I think 5 months ago, we saw the first cyber attack that was mostly orchestrated by AI.
Was
fully. Yeah.
Wow.
Mostly orchestrated by AI.
Wow.
And so it's getting more dangerous.
Yeah.
And one, you need to have a professional to help protect you from that.
Yeah.
But two, it's time to start thinking about how to transform your business.
Yeah. And also be aware, because a lot of times people don't know what they don't know. So
That's
they
right.
have to hire someone like you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So if they want to reach out to you,
Mhm.
how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can find me on the internet, of course, at allsafeintelligence.com. Also, I'm on LinkedIn, Bones Ijeoma. And you can find me there. My DMs are open, so send me a message.
I think we all need your help.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for being part of the conversation. And then I probably will have to bring you here in another 6 months because
That's right.
everything has
Everything's
changed.
going to change by then. Yeah. In 6 months, I think the AI assistant world is going to be huge. I can't wait to come back and talk about that. I think that's the thing that I'm most excited about now.
Yeah, everyone needs an assistant.
Everyone needs an assistant. Like
Yeah.
until you have an AI assistant, you have no idea how great that is. Always on time, always working 24/7.
And no workers' comp.
No workers' comp. Yeah, it's great. Very grateful.
Yeah. $7 an hour.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
great.
you so much, Bones. It was such a joy being with you.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me. Yeah.